In this video, I'm going to talk about each and every book which I read in 2023. So in 2023, I read 74 books. The first book was How to Shrink the Doubt Monsters by Charlie Froh and Zuzana Swobodova. I read this book because actually this year I read many children's books which are which have graphics in them, because I wanted to write a book myself, a children's book myself, which has illustrations, because I think that reading is something which, the love for reading is something which can be kindled best when we are younger. So I wanted to write a children's book, so I thought, let me read some children's books. So I started the year off by reading a children's book. And I really liked this one. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. And the next book which I read was The Jungle Crew by Emma Scott. This was also a children's book and I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. The third book which I read was A Bear Called Paddington. This is also a children's book, but I think it doesn't have many illustrations, but it is like a classic children's book. It is by Michael Bond, and I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I actually liked this one. It was about a bear who is adopted by a family who finds the bear on a train station, I think, and then they take it home, and it has a lot of adventures while it goes for shopping or while it's at home. So it was actually a really great story, and they named the bear Paddington because they found him on the Paddington station. And the next book which I read was I'm Mad About Pizza by Joshua McManus, and this book I gave a 3 out of 5 stars, and this was also a children's book with illustrations. So the next book which I read was Emerging from the Dark, Wish I Knew About This by Terence Ang, and this was actually 192 pages long, and this is a book which I read for a beta reading project. And this book was about stroke survivors and what are the struggles faced by the stroke survivors and the caregivers of the stroke survivors. And I actually enjoyed this book as well. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. And the next book which I read was Journal of Life by Sarah Khalil AA, and this was a non-fiction book, and this one was also something which I read for a beta reading project. The next book was Adventures into the Heart, Book 2, Playful Stories about Family and Love for Kids. And this was by Eric Klassen. This was also a children's book which I read. And the next book which I read was Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, and I actually really enjoyed this book, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. This is a 333 pages long book. The book is about Tate, who is studying to be a nurse, and she falls in love with her brother's best friend, who's a pilot. Her brother's also a pilot, and then they have to. The guy whom she falls in love with, he actually has a dark past, because in his past he had a relationship which caused him a lot of trauma because of something that happened. So it was actually a really great book, and I could actually enjoy. I could actually imagine the characters, like how they looked, and especially Rachel, who was the main male character's ex-girlfriend, and it was very beautifully described, especially the descriptions of Rachel, the chapters which were about Rachel, they were very beautifully written. And the next book which I read was Love, Life and Me, Self-Discovery Through Poetry by Anna Doldides. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It was a poetry book, and it was also something which I read for a beta reading project. The next book was 5 Simple Tips to Declutter Your Basement from Cluttered to Clean by Jody Wilson. So this was also a book about how to clean your basement basically, and actually I found it pretty helpful, and it was also something which I did for a beta reading project. The next book was The Invisible Sword of Flames, Dragon of Darkness by Patricia Okongu. So this was actually a religious fiction kind of book, and it was good. It was, I think, one of my first biblical fiction books which I had read, and it was about 6 siblings: Cleopatra, Giannis, Nicholas, and Topher, Michaelis, and Basilis. And the story is about how these siblings convince the people of a town to believe in God. And yeah, I actually enjoyed this book as well. It was quite short as well. The next book was Lucy and the Enchanted Forest by J.P. Anthony Williams. This was also a children's book which I read. Next one was My Cat Brother Sterling by Myra Hernandez. This was also a children's book that I read. And the next book was The Off Limits Rule by Sarah Adams. So this was something which I read on Kindle. Actually, really enjoyed this book. It was very addictive. So it is about a girl who, oh yeah, sorry, she's coming back to her hometown to live with her brother because she's too broke to live on her own because she got set out of her apartment. She was fired from her job, and she has to take care of her kid. And then she meets this guy called Cooper, who's her brother's friend, and then she actually falls for him, but he's too hesitant to start a relationship with her because of bro code. So he can't date his friend's sister. So he actually wants to wait for his friend's approval to start dating the main character. But so that's what this book was about, and it was actually very interesting. I really liked it. And the next book which I read was Mindfulness for Beginners: A Complete Guide to Cultivating Awareness, Understanding, and a Compassion in Your Daily Life by A.J. Cameron. So this was also a beta reading project book which I read. And the next book was The Giraffe Who Said Goodnight by Addison Books, and this was a children's book as well. The next book which I read was Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. This book I gave a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and this book I read on Kindle Unlimited. And the book is about a couple who seem to have a happy marriage until one day the man of the relationship, he is found to be accused of murdering his mistress, and his wife has to defend him since she's an attorney and she's actually defending him in the case. But in the end, there's a big twist which actually made me hate the book because I never saw the twist coming, and it was really abrupt and not along with the flow of the book, and that's why I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Other than that, it was actually a really good book. I would have given it a 5 out of 5 stars if I liked the ending. The next book which I read was Lucas and the Little Dinosaur: A Magical Adventure by R.R. Guadon. So this was also again a children's book which I read. So even though I read all these children's books, I finally decided that I don't think writing a children's book would be something which I would enjoy doing. So for now, I'm not going to write a children's book. I started writing a mystery book though, and I hope to complete it in a few months. And I will write a children's book someday, but I don't think it would be one with illustrations because personally, after reading all these children's books with illustrations, I just felt like I did not like them that much. I don't think that they would be a meaningful reading experience for children. I think that books with only words would be more meaningful. Maybe these books would be more meaningful for very younger kids, but I think even kids who are like 5 years old, I think they would enjoy stories with words more than stories with pictures. So but I still read these books to maybe change my mind because I really wanted to write books for children. But after reading all these books, I just decided that I don't want to do that because after I read those books, I just didn't feel anything. I didn't feel great about the books. So I didn't feel like they could create meaning. So I think I would, if I'm writing a children's book, I would want to write something like Anne of Green Gables or, you know, something like that. Not illustrations, but just fiction. So the next book that I read was The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It was actually a really addictive book. It's quite long, like it's 338 pages, but it is worth every page. I read this one also on Kindle Unlimited, and I was really addicted to it. I'm actually looking forward to reading the other books as well by Frida McFadden. I see that she's written quite a lot of books which are available on Kindle Unlimited. So the next book which I read was The Lion in Your Heart by R.C. Shizhov and Anil Yap. So this was also again a children's illustrated book. The next book which I read was The Temporary Roomie by Sarah Adams. So since I liked the first book which I read by Sarah Adams, that is The Off Limits Rule, I thought of giving this one also a try. And so this one, the main character, the main girl character in this one is actually the best friend of the girl who appeared in the first book which I read. So it was actually a really good book. So these books, both of these books, they have like a similar theme. So both of the main female characters are pregnant. The second book, Temporary Roomie, has the main female character who's pregnant, and the baby's father wants nothing to do with the kid. And even in the first book, the main female character has a kid whose father doesn't want to do anything with the kid. And so they are single mothers. is what I'm trying to say. And both of them find love in these books, and both of them work in a beauty parlor. So the girl in the temporary roomie is actually the owner of the beauty parlor, and the girl in the off-limits role is actually working for the girl in the temporary roomie. So yeah, I think these books are really addictive. Even the temporary roomie, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and it's 286 pages long. And actually, these books were available on Kindle Unlimited last year. That's how I read them, but now they are not available on Kindle Unlimited, I think. But two of the other books by Sarah Adams are available still on Kindle Unlimited. They are How to Con a Gentleman by Sarah Adams and How to Catch a Suitor by Sarah Adams. So I want to read them before even they vanish from Kindle Unlimited. And the next book that I read was Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. So I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and this was my first book which I read by Ali Hazelwood. I actually really enjoyed it. So this book is about two people who are working at NASA. One of them is the lead of engineering and one of them is the lead of neuroscience, and how they fall in love and how they actually hated each other, or thought that they hated each other for many years. They knew each other in college, and they again meet here, and they are actually initially not happy about it, but then things take a turn once things are revealed. So it's actually a quite interesting book, and I enjoyed it. And the next book which I read is Mommy Where is the Moon. It is also a children's book, and by Serene Shia, and I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. The next book which I read was How I Made $400K in 6 months using only cold email marketing. So I read this book on Kindle Unlimited, I think, and I read it because I don't know, I just wanted to read experiences of people doing some side hustles, because I think side hustles are something which everybody should do, because at the end of the day, having something of your own is so much more meaningful. And I think everybody should have a small business, a small side hustle. So I know it's very hard to make side hustles work, but at least we should give it a try, because once they work, they give us a lot of meaning and purpose. And the next book which I read was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and it is 176 pages long, and I enjoyed reading this book as well. So this book is about Charlie, who is actually from a poor family, and his family has his mom, his dad, his maternal grandparents, and his paternal grandparents, and it's winter, it's really cold, they have very little money and very little resources, and opposite to them is the chocolate factory of Willy Wonka. And the chocolate factory announces a competition where 5 Wonka bars are out there with all the other Wonka bars, and these 5 Wonka bars have golden tickets, which the winners of these tickets would be allowed a visit to the Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. So Charlie wants this very badly, and he somehow gets the ticket, and he somehow gets to go into the Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, and the adventures that happen in there are what this book is made of. And I read this book in an audiobook format, and I actually really enjoyed it. And the next book is Diversity to Me, a children's picture book teaching kids about the beauty of diversity. So this was by Marissa Taylor and Fernanda Montero. So I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It was again a children's book. The next book which I read was Winnie Goes to School by Joy Paul and Manuela Pentangelo. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the names of some authors wrongly. I'm very sorry. I just don't know how to pronounce the name of every author that I have read. I'm really sorry about that. So I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It was also again a children's book. And the next book which I read was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It was 383 pages long, and I actually enjoyed this book more than I enjoyed Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, because I just think that I don't know, I just like this book more. It was more intense in my opinion, and it was more I think I just like the trope, the fate rating trope in this one was really awesome. So this book is about Olive, who wants to convince her friend that she's on a date right now, but she is not. So she just kisses the first person who comes into her view, who happens to be Adam Carson, who is one of the most hated professors on the campus. And but then he actually initially he threatens to complain her or report her because she just harassed him by kissing him without his consent. But then he understands her reasons and he decides to go along with her plan, and he actually fake dates her until it becomes true. So the next book that I read was The Giraffe Who Found Its Spot by Addison Books. So this was also again a children's book. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It is just 29 pages long. It had wonderful illustrations. And the next book that I read was I Love You Through Winter, Spring, Summer and Fall. Again a children's book by Junia Wonders and Daniela Walbury. So this is 36 pages long. And the next book which I read was Agent 47, Birth of the Hitman #1. So it shows here that I rated it 1 out of 5 stars. I don't know why I rated it 1 out of 5 stars. Okay, anyway, I don't remember much about this book. I think it was kind of a comic book, I'm not sure. Moving on, the next book that I read was Great Stories for Children by Ruskin Bond. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars and it was a 200-page long book. This book had a lot of small stories written by Ruskin Bond, and they were all very magical, whimsical, descriptive, and they were set in the hills of Missouri, and I really liked all of the stories. One of my favorite stories was one about a Preth who kept troubling the inmates of a house, and yeah, so that's what was about this book. And the next book which I read was The Night Train at Dearly by Ruskin Bond. This was a short story by Ruskin Bond. I read this book because I really like the Great Stories for Children by Ruskin Bond, so I thought of giving this one also a try. And this one I heard in an audiobook format, and I really liked it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, as I said, I think. And next I read Benny the Brave and the First State Jitters by Julie Ann Penn. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was a children's book with illustrations, and there are several books in this series, I guess, which I read, which was Jen the Grit in I Quit. That was the next book by Julie Ann Penn. I think I did not like this one. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. The next one was Chloe the Calm in the Bedtime. Okay, I don't know, I think the titles of these books are not able to understand them properly, but I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars as well. The next book is Keisha the Kind in My Little Sister Situation. Okay, I get it. So they're like Keisha the Kind, Chloe the Calm, Jen the Grit. Okay, I get it now. So yeah. So Keisha the Kind in My Little Sister Situation. So this is also a children's book in the same series by Julie Ann Penn, and again I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I think I wasn't a fan of this series, I guess. The next book that I read was The Thief by Ruskin Bond. This was also a short story by Ruskin Bond, and I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know why, I think I enjoyed it. I remember enjoying it. So this book is actually about, the story is actually about a thief who gets hired in one of the houses of one of the people, and he actually gets hired in exchange for not money, but he'd work for this person, and this person would teach him to read. So he's actually really happy with this setup until one day his master comes into a lot of money, and this guy, he just steals the money and runs away in the night because he knows where the master kept the money. And so from then the story gets better. So I think I enjoyed this book, but I don't remember why I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. The next one is Books for Benjamin by R.G.D. Ruan and Uliana Barabash. So I have given this one a 5 out of 5 stars. It is also a children's book. The next book that I read was Horrid Henry Robs the Bank by Francisca Simon and Tony Ross. So Tony Ross is the illustrator and Francisca Simon is the author, and I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It's 95 pages long, and I'm actually a really big fan of Horrid Henry. I have been reading Horrid Henry for quite some time now. I think I discovered Horrid Henry a few years ago, but I really like the series, the TV series which they have, and also the book, and the books. So yeah, the next was Horrid Henry and the Soccer Fiend by Francisca Simon and I think Tony Ross, and I gave this one also a 5 out of 5 stars. It is 114 pages long, and this book also has 3 stories, I think. Yeah, both of these Horrid Henry books have 3 stories each, I think, 3 small stories. So obviously these books have all the Horrid Henry characters like Horrid Henry, Perfect Peter, Moody Margaret, Susan, and Brainy Brian. We know, right? Rude Ralph. So, really nice book. I really enjoy the humor in these books. And the next book which I read was Marquis the Magnificent Fairy, a disability story of courage, kindness, and acceptance by Cynthia Kern O'Brien. So this is also a children's book that I read. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and it was 36 pages long. Next, I read The Great Danes, Big Dogs Living Large by Shannon Sharkey and David Nass. So I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It was 33 pages long, and it was again a children's book. Next, I read Scary Stories for Kids, Short Horror Stories for Children by Kara Atkin, Wilden Roensman, and I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was 47 pages long. So I think I remember one of the stories in this book. It was a little scary. So it's about a man who, when he was a kid, he left a town just before one of the amusement parks was opened, and he comes back to his town when he's a man with his kid, and he finds out that one of the rides in the amusement park was a killer ride. Like, the people who went on the ride, they did not come back, or some children went missing because they went on the ride. So yeah, there were some scary stories like that in this book. And the next book which I read was The Purpose of Life, to Love and to Create. The Meaning of Life is Found by Expressing Love by Dave Dale, Jesse Raymond, and Jesse Raymond, Dave Dale and Jesse Raymond. So I read this book for a beta reading project. It was 82 pages long, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was Songs of Innocence and of Experience by William Blake. It is a poetry book. It has a lot of poems. It has 2 sections, Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience. And actually I have done a video review of this book on my channel, so you can check that out if you're interested. And this book is just 56 pages long, and I think I read this book on Kindle. Yeah, I read it on Kindle. And the next book is The Little Mouse in My House by Addison Books, and I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It was a children's book, and it was 26 pages long. The next book is Does God Take Naps by Crystal Bauman. So I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It was 32 pages long, and it was also again a children's book. So next we have BB Saves the Honeybees by Judith A. Eva. Again, 3 out of 5 stars, 36 pages long, and it was a children's book. So as I said, I was reading all of these children's books in hopes that I would get inspiration on what to write in my own children's book, but I did not end up doing that. So anyway, next one is Rexy Learns Self-Confidence, a dinosaur children's story to teach kids self-confidence by Els Fox and Garrett Fox. So I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It was 33 pages long. And next we have Why Am I So Quiet by Dawn McLucas. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and it has 38 pages. The next book was, which I read, was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was 182 pages long. I read this one on Audible, and I really enjoyed it. But it did not have as much of an impact on me as I assumed it would, because if you just go to Google and search most meaningful books or books that would change your life or something like that, this would be one of the books which would appear in every list. So, but it did not do that for me, I think. Maybe because I read it in an audiobook format, I'm not sure, but many books which I have read in an audiobook format have changed my perspective, have had a big impact on me. So I don't know what the problem was. Maybe because I did not have the text along with the audio. So I read this on Audible and I just had the audio. I did not have text, so I could not follow along as well as I wanted to. Maybe that's why I didn't find it that impactful. I enjoyed reading it, but I didn't get anything a lot out of it, you know. So the book is about a shepherd boy who has this dream, and in this dream he sees certain things, and he goes to a woman who interprets dreams, and he tells her about his dream, and she interprets it as he's going to find a treasure. His mission is to find a treasure, and then on his way he finds several people who help him, and so that's what this book is about. It's actually really unique, and I like the way in which it was written, but it wasn't as impactful as I thought it would be on me. Next poem, the next book which I read was Love Poems by Pablo Neruda. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. It is 90 pages long and I actually really liked it. Initially, I did not like it when I started reading it because I was reading it in an audiobook format on Audible, and all the poems were having the word kiss, and I just thought that it was just about kiss, 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 kiss. But then I started liking the later poems which were coming in the book. They were more deep. So the next book which I read was Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and it is 389 pages long. And this book, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I did like it, but I just, at this point, I felt that this book was less nicer than Love on the Brain and Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. Not Love Theoretically, sorry. It was less nicer than Love on the Brain and The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I'm not sure why I felt that, but I just felt that the plot in this one was a bit thinner than the plots in those two books. I felt that those two plots were more thicker and deeper and better than this one. The next book which I read was Model Home by J. Courtney Sulaiman. So I read this on my Kindle. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's 39 pages long. It's a short story, and I don't remember much about this book. I think, oh yeah, I remembered. This book is about a couple who works and who are like the host of a reality TV show where they help people find their dream home. So the guy wants to stop doing this, but the girl, she doesn't want to. So not guy and girl actually. The man wants to stop doing that, but the wife doesn't want to stop this show. So that's what the book is about, and their children and everything also comes into the book. And the next book which I read was My Evil Mother by Margaret Atwood. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It's 32 pages long. It's also a short story, and I actually really enjoyed this one. So it is about a lady who has sad memories of her mother. She doesn't like her mother very much, but then when she herself becomes a mother, she kind of appreciates her mother a little bit, and then when her mother dies, she appreciates her mother even more. So the stories are about, the story is about the interactions between the main character, her mother, her daughter, her father. So it's actually a quite nice book. The next book which I read was Inspiring Thoughts by Swami Vivekananda. I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars, and it is 107 pages long. It just has a lot of thoughts and quotes. And the next book I read was The Diamond is Biggest to Ritz by Scott Fitzgerald. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and this book is about a guy who goes to one of his friends' houses for the holidays, but then he finds out that this friend's house is on a diamond mine kind of place, and they're like really rich people, and their house is in the only unsurveyed piece of land in the United States, and that him coming here might have some negative consequences for him. And yeah, that's what this book is about. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's just 58 pages long. And the next book I read was Matilda by Roald Dahl. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. This book is about Matilda, who's a brilliant girl who learns a lot of mathematics, a lot of literature even before she starts school, and then she gets telekinetic powers which she uses to help her teacher. And yeah, this is also a very nice book, and it's 240 pages long, and I would recommend reading this. The next book which I read was Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne, and I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and it's 161 pages long. And actually, I think I have done a video review of this book as well on my channel, so if you're interested, you can watch that. Even for Matilda by Roald Dahl, I've done a video review, as well as for The Diamond is Biggest to Ritz by Scott Fitzgerald. I have done video reviews for all of these books, so you can watch those on my channel if you're interested. The next book I read was The Bookcase by Nelson Tamili. So I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and it's 54 pages long. So this book is about a guy who is murdered because, who is dead because a bookcase falls on him. Initially, people think that it's an accident, but then they come to know that it's actually a murder. So murder by bookcase is what this book is about. The next book is A World's End by Agatha Christie. It's a Harley Quinn short story. And this one also I have a video review on my channel in shorts format, and the book is also there on my channel in a video review format. And The World's End, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It's 100 pages long, and it's about a woman who is depressed. She wants to commit suicide because her fiance was sent to jail for a jewel robbery which he did not commit. But at the end of the book, something happens which makes her reconsider suicide. That is, she doesn't want to commit suicide anymore because of something which happens towards the end of the book. And the next book is Jane in Search of a Job by Agatha Christie. So this book is also on my channel in a video review. And I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. And this book is about Jane who is beautiful and clever and intelligent, but she doesn't have a job. She finds a job, but it's a scam. The next book is The Visit by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. I read it on Amazon Prime Reading, and this book is having a lot of gender roles reversal, and it's actually really kind of funny as well as unique as well as eye-opening. And it's just 20 pages long, so you can just finish it in one sitting itself. The next book I read was The Little Red Hen. This is a children's story again, but this doesn't have illustrations, I think. I wouldn't know because I read it in an audiobook format, and it's just 32 pages long, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's about a hen who wants the help of certain barnyard animals to make bread, but then they don't help her when she is making bread, but they want to eat the bread once she makes it, but then she doesn't share. So the next book I read was The Lost Decade by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars, and this is a really short read as well. It's about a man who lost a decade of his life due to reasons which are unclear. And the next book I read was We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's just 65 pages long, and I would recommend everyone to read this book. And I actually reread this book this year. So the first time I read it was in 2016 or 17, I think. And this book is about Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She shares her experiences as a black woman, how she faced gender inequality at various points of time in her life, and she shares some lessons about gender equality and why the conversation of gender is so important even today, and especially today. So the next book is Tigers for Dinner by Ruskin Bond. So this book, I think I have done a video review of some of the Ruskin Bond books which I have read, so that is on my channel. You can watch that book if you want to know more about my take on this book. And I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and it's 65 pages long. The next book I read was The Hen Who Dreamed She Could Fly by Sun Mi Huang. So this book I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. It teaches a lot of things like motherhood and sacrifice and going for what you want. So the book is about a hen who is kept in the coop for laying eggs, and she never gets to hatch any of the eggs because as soon as she lays the eggs, they are taken away from her. But her dream is to hatch an egg. She looks out into the barn and she finds that there is a cock and a hen, and they lay eggs and they hatch their eggs and they have these small chickens. But she wants to do the same, but she's not allowed that, so she just stops eating and drinking. She becomes very weak, and so the owners decide to throw her. But then she somehow escapes and she starts living a new life outside the coop, and she finds an egg which nobody's taking care of, and so she takes care of it, but it is not the egg of a hen, it is actually the egg of some other bird, but she takes care of it anyway. And then what happens next is what the story is about. It's actually really deep and interesting and unique, and I would recommend this book to everyone. And the next book I read was The Blue Umbrella by Ruskin Bond. As I said, this book is also a part of a video review which is on my channel, in which I'm reviewing some of the Ruskin Bond books which I have read. So this book I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's 83 pages long, and it's about a girl named Binya who gets a blue umbrella which everybody in her village is envious of. And so the book is about this blue umbrella and what are the adventures which happen because of it. The next book which I read was Santaland Diaries by David Sedaris. It was a book which I found really boring. I slept thrice while reading it, and I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. It's 138 pages long. And the next book on my list is which I read is Once Upon a Christmas Carol by Karen Shella. So this book I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, and I read it on Audible. It's an Audible original, and the book is about a lady who loses her job and it's Christmas and she receives a Christmas card from her hometown, and she actually goes to her hometown because of the Christmas card, even though she doesn't go to her hometown for Christmas. Uh, Usually because she finds it very difficult to celebrate Christmas at home after her mom's death. But this time she goes and then she tries to find out who is this person who's been sending her these Christmas cards, because even after she arrives at her hometown, she receives these Christmas cards. Each Christmas card that she receives gives a clue to where the next card is, and each card has a carol. So she's really interested by this thing that's happening. And the next book which I read was Under One Roof by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and it is 112 pages long. It is about Mara, who inherits a house, but only half of a house, from her PhD supervisor, because the other half belongs to her PhD supervisor's nephew, who is William. And initially they hate each other because William doesn't want to share his living space with anyone, and Mara has no other place to go because she's just starting her job here. And but then they grow closer and they fall in love, and that's what this book is about. And the next book, and the last book actually, which I read in 2023 was Stuck With You by Ali Hazelwood. It's 127 pages long. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars, and this book is about Sadie, who is a civil engineer, and one day she meets Eric on her way to give a sales pitch, and then they hit it off, and then there is a misunderstanding between them, because of which she does not talk to him for weeks and she hates him for weeks. But then they get stuck in an elevator, and that's when the misunderstandings get cleared, and that's why the book's name is Stuck With You, because they're stuck together in this elevator. And I actually enjoyed this book as well. So those were all the books which I read in 2023. And I think some of my favorite books which I read in 2023 were The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose, and The Off Limits Rule by Sarah Adams, Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, Temporary Roomie by Sarah Adams, and Stuck With You by Ali Hazelwood, Under One Roof by Ali Hazelwood, even The Bookcase by Nelson Damili. Yeah, I think those were some of my favorite books which I read this year. Even, oh yeah, how can I forget The Hen Who Dreamed She Could Fly by Sunmi Huang, and We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Although this is not the first time I read it, I would still include it in my favorite books which I read this year. And I think I would also include The Visit by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and Matilda by Roald Dahl, and let me see. Yeah, I think I would also like to include Love Poems by Pablo Neruda, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. So yeah, I think these were my favorite books which I read this year. So let me know down below in the comments which were the favorite books which you read in 2023. How many books did you read in 2023? What were they, and which ones did you enjoy the most? And thanks for watching the video, and consider subscribing if you liked this video. That's it. Thanks for watching.